The streets are buzzing. We await Game 5 of the NBA Finals tomorrow night. Let's look ahead, ladies and gentlemen, as the New York Knicks, one game away from being crowned NBA champs. So much to talk about. We're still on a high. We're still all buzzing. Let's chop it up. Friday night, Knicks. Maybe the last Friday night Knicks on the season before the New York Knicks have a chance to get it done, man, in San Antonio. We'll be live post-game tomorrow as well. Welcome in, fam, as OG Anunoby. He's been getting all the flowers and some. Man, the wash-up to the most craziest, heroic performance in NBA Finals history, the biggest comeback, man, is in the rear view right now, but he's definitely, man, a legend in New York City right now. OG spoke to the media, talking about a lot of Raptors fans, Raptors former teammates reached out to him as well, getting so much love. But our New York Knicks have a chance to get it done in San Antonio, man. I really feel confident. Just off the top, we'll have a chance to talk more in depth tonight with the chat as well. Welcome in, everyone. Hit that like button. We're all buzzing. And I think the Knicks play more focused on the road. I think that obviously there's going to be a certain level of pressure at home. But, man, tomorrow we're hearing that up to 50% of tickets sold are from the New York area. So not surprised. Maybe Spurs fans ain't feeling as confident down 3-1. Wembanyama certainly still feels confident, man. The cocky young San Antonio Spurs squad, which, I know has been getting a lot of criticism, right? I expect them to still be confident. The Spurs are a great team, but the issue I have is that everyone just doesn't seem to give the Knicks their credit, in terms of the opponents, man. We are 14-1 in our last 15 playoff games, man. That is one of the greatest runs in NBA playoff history, right? And no matter what the other teams try to do, they could have an all-time hot shooting first half as the Spurs drained 14 threes in the first half. That still was not enough, ladies and gentlemen, to get it done. And what are they talking about now, right? The Knicks still found a way to win. So that's why I'm super confident heading into tomorrow night as we see some footage at practice. The New York Knicks basically just doing shoot around now. They're not really, doing no rigorous practices or anything like that at this time, man. As the NBA announced earlier today, man, the most watched finals game since 1998, Bulls versus the Jazz. NBA definitely wants this to go longer, but the New York Knicks can take it away tomorrow night, and I really feel confident they will. It's going to take a lot more focus. I think defensively, the New York Knicks need to defend a lot better. Can't let the Spurs shoot what they did, and I don't think they will, even if it happened again, even if they got the same kind of looks. But they are a good shooting team. What kind of adjustments is Mitch Johnson going to make? We'll talk about that tonight. I do think Dylan Harper is probably going to play a lot more minutes, maybe less De'Aaron Fox, who's been getting a lot of heat, obviously, for trying to attempt that layup and got blocked by OG. One of the most heroic plays we'll ever see, man. And that chase down block, never say die, never quit. This team is super connected. But look, the Knicks are always capable of going on their runs with their three balls as well, with OG hitting 7 of 9. Jose Alvarado hit a couple big threes. Cat's big step back three. Brunson's threes. Hart's big inbound three as well. So the New York Knicks are dangerous. They can always make that run, even if their defense is lacking and they fall behind. And I think Jose Alvarado was the key adjustment, fam. Will we see more of that? I think we might. I think Hart obviously going to start. But how does Hart recover, fam? How does Hart feel after the blown layup? And he was emotional. Obviously, he thought he had the game blown. and his teammates picked him up and said, "Hey, the game's not over yet. Let's get this one, man. We got you." And that is what a squad is all about, man. This team embodies so much about the last Knicks championship team, which I think is another reason why this is destiny, fate. Um, Basketball is a team sport. You know, you could have the greatest superstar, but if you don't play like a team, look at how many teams stink with so many good players on it, so many good sort of superstars on it. Just one star, you're right. If you ain't playing as a team, you ain't connected. And I think the trademark of this team is obviously from last year is depth as well. You know, last year we don't have the option to go Alvarado. You know, there's no way you could play campaign next to Brunson last year. The Knicks were lacking in that depth. And we're going to talk about some concerns with the bench, not getting enough out of Landry the last couple games, but he's been a hero this playoff run. Has the gas worn out, or has he got a little bit left in the tank for one last game where he can ball out? Deuce McBride, we're still waiting on a big Deuce signature performance, man. Do we get it on the road? We'll talk about it, ladies and gentlemen, tonight. G Money's in the house. Great to see you, fam. Salute to everyone. G Money says it was an Anunoby avalanche, 33 points, 10 of 15 with 7 of 9 from downtown. The airplane soared from the heavens to hang glide the ball into the hoop. And it was poetic. Anunoby's been shooting the ball so well. He's super consistent, worth every single dollar the New York Knicks are paying him for, man. One of the premier jumbo wings in this league, and that's why we went out and made that move. But yeah, finals experience, prime of his career, fam. He's actually one of the younger players in our experienced core. OG's only 28. So right in his prime was Brunson's hitting 30, Cat 30, Hart 30. Bridges going to turn 30 as well next season. But OG, man, reads the play. And I gave credit in the recap to Brunson as well because, look, as a team, you need a guy to pull the double team. And Anunoby capitalized, crashed the glass like he did. You know, some players might not have done that in that situation. They may have pouted. They may have just stood there with their arms waving, waiting for Brunson's shot to go down. But look, smart tactics overall. We'll talk about it more tonight, but we'll more look ahead to Game 5. But just to tie that bow on Game 4, man, I think the selection, right? One of the issues in the game earlier was the Knicks were just passing up good looks to try to get a better look. And you just can't do that against a great defense like San Antonio with a 7'6" alien. And I'll tell you why the Knicks obviously started to get that momentum was with the dual ball handling, playing at a faster speed, which I think is going to be critical tomorrow night, right? And I do think we are going to have to push Wembanyama up and down that court. But basically the New York Knicks, right, with Anunoby, right, being open on that situation, right, with the 3 balls that the New York Knicks can drop, right? Brunson shot that ball perfectly at the right time because it was a good look. Not a great look, but it was a good look. And like I said, sometimes when you pass up a good look to try to get a better look, you might not get any look. You might not get no look. And if you're the Spurs, right, you got 1.2 seconds left. You don't even get a shot off. Well, obviously, Cat tipped it, and they were trying for the lob. But if I was the coach of the Spurs in that situation, I would have even tried just a catch and shoot 3, catch and shoot fadeaway, because you got to get a shot off. 1.2 seconds left. So we rewind to the New York Knicks possession with 5 point something remaining, where Brunson quickly caught it and went quickly. That was the right play because you give yourself enough time for the miss and the rebound. That is why it's a smart play, ladies and gentlemen. So Brunson, super smart. Well done, Mike Brown, coaching staff. And before Wembanyama could double and close Brunson out, he took the shot at the right time. And yes, as I said, it was not a great look. It was a good look. And you take that for your best player. But it was a good look because there was enough time on the clock for OG Anunoby to sky from the heavens and produce one of the most historic buckets in NBA history, let alone New York Knicks history. And that is why it was well executed and why the Spurs, man, got greedy trying to go for the tip in that situation. And obviously De'Aaron Fox as well as getting his criticism for going for that transition layup, which is polarizing. It's always going to be polarizing. Uh, I offered my thoughts in the recap that I felt like De'Aaron Fox, with his speed, open floor, I think he was entitled to go for the layup, but he probably should have had better awareness, obviously, of just how close OG was, right? But he trusted in the separation that he had. But look, smaller guy against a bigger guy, man. They talk about this whole series as being David versus Goliath. Well, Wemby versus Brunson, we got the better of that possession. Flip the script. Anunoby is Goliath in this one. The smaller, diminutive De'Aaron Fox is the David, man. And OG says, no, no, no. You ain't getting this one today. Not on my watch. And he should have been all defense. First team. Fam. Never quit. Topps released the card, fam. I copped that today as well. And I copped a couple. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a giveaway, ladies and gentlemen. I'll have more news. We'll do a giveaway tomorrow night. Hopefully we're crowned NBA champions, right? And this Topps card, man, not the signature version, unfortunately. They're limited right now, but Topps are printing up to 80,000 of these. And if it exceeds 100,000, they're going to release this gold version as well. So I've ordered my couple, and we're going to do a couple of giveaways as well of that one, man. But the emotions that Cat displayed, man, speaks in this graphic right here, man. We all just wanted that one game, just one play to go our way, fam. But we need one more, man. We need one more win. Tomorrow night is going to be a game for the ages, and I think the Knicks close it out too. As Ernest Cameron says it, fam, we need to end this Saturday night, take no chances. Close out Knicks, sitting pretty this postseason. The closeout Knicks have been 3-0, not lost a closeout game. And look, 50% of the crowd is going to be Knicks, man. It's going to be special. Brunson plays his best on the road. I think Hart is going to be able to put that missed bunny behind him. And I think Jose Alvarado may have just found that juice right now. As y'all are talking about Shamet and Deuce needing to hit. Ernest Cameron also says it. If Shamet and Deuce are hitting, we'll beat them easily. Yeah. Look, someone's got to step up from the bench. You know, is it going to be Alvarado again? Are we going to get an appearance from Shamet, a reappearance? But Deuce McBride is that guy that's due. He is due. Mikal Bridges as well, been a hero so far, but been lacking in the last couple. Maybe the MSG pressure has been a lot, and it's some players are different. Obviously, Anunoby is different. Cat, I think Brunson, they play the same no matter where. Like they can shoulder pressure. They've got the experience. Hard as well as one of those guys. But I do feel like guys like Mikal, Deuce, Shamet, guys that aren't used to handling the ball a lot can struggle with the expectations, the added pressure as well. So this could be the right situation being on the road, not discounting the Spurs getting back into this series because it ain't over till it's over, ladies and gentlemen. But as this subscriber and viewer says, Game 5, bro. Yeah, let's get it. I think Game 5 will be close. I do think it's going to be real close, but I do think the Knicks look first two games, man. We ain't shook. We ain't shook on the road at all, and we're definitely confident in our execution. Anunoby's been amazing. He should get Finals MVP if he continues to play the way he's been playing. But I won't be surprised if Brunson does end up having one more great performance and winning it. Cat is deserving as well, in my opinion. I know a lot of foul trouble, but I do think Cat deserves an opportunity to get this Finals MVP. Maybe there's one more game, two more, but I hope we can close it out tomorrow night. Man, that would be amazing because you don't leave nothing to chance. Injuries, uh, you know, another miraculous play. I mean, this final series is so evenly matched. The Spurs are young, uh, they're full of confidence, but they're a little naive, most definitely. Now, I understand when you beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, you got to be confident you can beat anyone. Because OKC, the reigning champs, OKC were injured though. No AJ Mitchell, no J Dub. I think they would have handled the Spurs easily if those guys weren't injured. So the Spurs need to understand, man, they got lucky as well, I think, in that series. Now, they deserve to get through because of the injuries, and they beat OKC fair and square. But these New York Knicks team, man, it's different. These guys have got more experience. They're a juggernaut. They play spirited. They play together. They're never out of the ball game, fam, as well. They've got the bigger bodies too, man. But what a difference OG Anunoby's been. Especially even in Game 3, he was huge. Gave the Knicks a chance to win that one. I think if Castle didn't hit that huge late heave, I think the Knicks probably win Game 3, and we're probably crowned NBA champions, man. That would have been an amazing way to cap off the whole series and the championship. Game 4, the comeback, the tip, the championship. That would have been amazing, but obviously we've got one more to go. But yeah, Game 3 OG was great. 28 points as well. That is why I think he's probably Finals MVP. But I think Brunson's right there. Hasn't put together a complete performance, but been obviously clutch heroic buckets. Game 1, Game 2, Game 4, obviously as well, fam. And look, Cat's probably been the best player on the court when he's been on the court, but he's been bedeviled by bad NBA officiating. Dare I say, potential corruption, agendas, all of that, man. Cat's proved a lot of doubters wrong. So has Macau. OG Anunoby's definitely become a household name right now. Thomas says Mike Brown will out adjust Mitch. Knicks finally win the first quarter. Yeah, that's key. Great point. Get out the gates quickly. And look, we've talked about the starting five in terms of Hart's position. I do think, however long this core stays together, I could probably see Hart's starting five position being the first one to change if and whenever this starting five ends up changing. And Hart maybe shuffles down to a six-man role. But yeah, you got to be willing to make those adjustments. And that's why Mike Brown deserves a lot of praise because, that's why you coach. If things ain't going right, it's on you. It ain't on a fan. It ain't on a pundit. It ain't on a podcast or a streamer to make the change. It's on you. Mike Brown recognized it. Obviously, the Knicks got down way too much. The first quarter was atrocious. Second quarter was terrible. But better late than never. And the New York Knicks found their juice, man. The crowd lifted them up. The extra speed, the ball handling. Let's talk about it, guys. Should Alvarado get more than 20, 25 minutes? Should Kolek get an opportunity, knowing we've just one more game away? Big Dave says their confidence can't be great after Game 4. Yeah, look, NBA Finals, man, it's a mental battle as well as physical. That's why I do favor the New York Knicks in a closeout game, either way. Look at Wemby lose his cool, man, throwing elbows around, trying to trying to stomp OG's leg. That was crazy. Stephon Castle saying, "Yeah, we're going to win 3 in a row." Like, again, I get the confidence of San Antonio. You beat OKC. You have a right to feel confident getting to the NBA Finals. But the pure disgust, the pure, you know, just disregard for the New York Knicks run and talent. 14-1, 13 games in a row, right? Who are you to think you're going to beat a team 3 games in a row? A team that just won 13 straight, right? I'm so glad, man, the New York Knicks are going to put this team in their place, man, because the Spurs got a lot of growing pains, man. De'Aaron Fox ain't no championship material, in my opinion. Spent most of his days in Sacramento, man. Moves to a good organization and is still making boneheaded plays, man. You know? They could take Fox out of Sacramento, but they still can't take the Sacramento out of Fox. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you got to be humble, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Knicks have been through their lumps. I ain't seen a lot of people talking about that. The Knicks had to lose 2 game sevens, heartbreak. Eastern Conference semis 2 years ago to Indiana. OG was banged up. Randall was banged up. Hart was banged up. Brunson was banged up. Bogdanovich was banged up. And Indiana caught a break. Fast forward 1 more year. The New York Knicks almost get there. Game 7 again. Game 6. Heartbreak. Eastern Conference Finals. Losing Game 1. The New York Knicks on the wrong end of history. Bounce back. Hopefully now on the right end of history. So San Antonio, they got to learn, man. They got to be humble. And I think their coach is a little too young as well, fam. I think he's doing Pop a disservice as well out there. I think he's getting thoroughly outcoached by Mike Brown in this one. I mean, even as bad as the New York Knicks play, man, they ain't giving up a 29-point lead. That's historic. That's hubris, that's overconfidence, cockiness, disregard for the opponent, man. No NBA Finals team should ever choke a 29-point lead, right? Mitch Johnson wasn't calling timeouts when he should have called timeouts. You're on the road. MSG crowd's going crazy. What are you doing letting the lead slip down to 12 before you call a timeout as well? And it just mirrors the entire team. Wembanyama still saying that we're all thinking we're going to win this. So everyone's thinking we're going to win still. So let's see, man. We'll be live post-game tomorrow and we'll be buzzing, man. Hopefully when the New York Knicks are crowned NBA champs and we get our just dues, fam, our get back for 1999. Slow Runner says the public bravado means the Spurs are masking their insecurities. The arrogance led them to blow that lead because they're not well coached and disrespectful. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. But just to flip over to a little bit of X's and O's, I do think the concern I had with the Spurs is late game execution, right? Putting the collapse aside, putting the loss in game 1 and 2 aside, heading into this series, the Knicks, I felt, know their identity more than San Antonio. They know where they're going down the stretch. They know what their strengths are. They know, clearly where the clutch buckets are coming from. They've got the best closer in the business. Wembanyama might be a very, very talented player, but he's a long way from knowing yet what his full strengths are. And the Spurs organization, they're all figuring this out on the fly. I get it. They're a young team. If you gave them truth serum at the start of the season, they probably didn't expect to be here yet, this quick, this soon. But here they are. So they're still learning on the fly. But like I said, the New York Knicks, ladies and gentlemen, we know who we are. And we knew this at the end of last season. We added some better depth. We got a coach who's more inclined to tap in to the full squad, make adjustments, collaborate with the assistants. and we humbled ourselves. We fired a winning coach that everyone clowned us for, but we had to humble ourselves to say, okay, this ain't good enough. Tibbs is a good coach, but we need to get better, right? We fell short against Indiana twice. So we had to make the tough decisions. We had to make the tough calls. And, we made a couple great moves, man. The Alvarado move now, man, that's going to go down as one of the greatest trade deadline moves in Knicks, possibly NBA history as well. For Alvarado's performance in Game 4, man. Hometown kid, right? Not just the two big threes, but the ball movement, the player movement, right? The bounce pass to find OG in the corner that cut it from 7 down to 4, man. That was one of my biggest buckets of the game because the shot clock was going down. Brunson got the ball, he gave it back up. Alvarado shifted the defense. He had to make a play, and he got Wembanyama pivoting to the strong side, and he made a play, dribbled it into the center, and found OG on the weak side for the corner 3. Got the Mike Breen bang as well. Only a point guard can kind of make that play, fam. So that is really, really key, man. I think we're going to see more of that. Hopefully, I think Jose sticks around and we're going to see more of those minutes together. Now, I don't think you can play those 30 minutes together, but definitely you could save it for down the stretch. You could tap into it earlier, maybe in the first quarter. Like the chat saying tonight, man. Shout out to you guys on fire tonight. Lucy's Pop Salute says, let's go Knicks. Close it out tomorrow. OG is the man. And I'm just, really proud of the team, but the coaching staff as well, the collaboration. Leon Rose getting Alvarado was such a big pickup because, we got contributions from everyone. Like I said, McCall's had his moment. Clarkson's had some moments. Shamet has had some huge moments as well. But we don't get here, in Game 4 without Alvarado, the pickup at the trade deadline. And what a pickup that was for 2 second-round picks. Actually, it might have only been one first-round pick. Dalen Terry and maybe one first-round pick. Swapping Yabusele for a second-round pick, and then, for Dalen Terry. And then swapping that out. The Pelicans, thankfully, aren't in the playoffs. Had no need for Alvarado. Maybe an underrated play, as I think it's telling to see Alvarado in the background of this image, because what happens after OG gets the block? It's a spillage. It's a 50-50. It's a loose ball. And if there's another San Antonio Spur, beating all the Knicks down the court, they get an open putback. They get an open layup. And how many times have we seen that before? But no, who's the guy down the court? Who's beating everyone else down the floor? It's Jose Alvarado, who got the spillage. Almost committed the backcourt, but some people are speculating he knew what he was doing by keeping the ball on one side. Having 2 point guards, Brunson can shift kind of to more of a 2-guard mindset with Alvarado playing the point guard. And I was calling for the adjustment before Game 3 because I did feel like Tyler Kolek deserved, a look, just to see what it looked like early, if he could handle the pressure. Because I think Tyler Kolek's looked really good, obviously against the Spurs this season, but he's looked good in some of the late game playoff games, albeit were garbage time. But I do think Tyler Kolek has the age, the experience now, two seasons in the league, 26 years old. I think he can handle it with him and Brunson. Unfortunately, with Deuce McBride, I think Deuce's strengths lie in play finishing, catching, shooting, making a quick dribble, pull up, those kind of things. And you've got to give the Spurs credit in terms of their defenders, because against like maybe Philly, Cleveland, Deuce McBride can cook because they don't have the guards that can put the ball pressure on, a guy like a Deuce McBride. But that's where you need the handles. But yeah, Deuce is more of a play finisher. But I do think that Landry Shamet has shown a lot as well. He could put the ball on the floor and make a play. Hopefully, he has one more huge game where Landry can find his stroke. But here's what I'm thinking about tomorrow night now. I'm thinking tomorrow night might be the best basketball game from both teams, right? There's been 4 games. There's been a lot of ups and downs for both teams. A lot of funkiness and some teams not executing, crumbling, bad mistakes as well. I think by game 5 now we should start to see, both teams put together more of a complete performance. And closeout games are kind of very usually, tightly contested in the NBA Finals when it comes to a closeout game. And obviously, if it's close down the stretch, there's going to be 50% Knicks fans in the crowd. So look forward to that once again. And I think the Knicks are going to feel comfortable. But yeah, legacy's completely on the line. That goes without saying. Wembanyama, still so young in his career. And if the Spurs do lose this series, obviously it will be part of Wemby's story, Wembanyama's journey, and some of the other young San Antonio Spurs. But the fact is, I don't. If they go on to win multiple championships, I don't think it's going to be nothing but a small stain. And that's why destiny and fate is with the New York Knicks, because yeah, the Spurs are just super young. They probably didn't expect to get to this point. And with this guy in screen, De'Aaron Fox is one of the more experienced guys. He should be one of the guys that are keeping his head on straight. He should be one of these San Antonio Spurs that, is leading the younger guys. But no, some of these younger guys look more composed, with Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle, who did get into a little bit of foul trouble, which did help the New York Knicks as well. But my keys to tomorrow's game, once again, is the Knicks can't hesitate on offense. They're passing up good looks to try to find a better look. And I understand it's in the blueprint of their offense with Mike Brown to try to swing that ball around and move Wembanyama around, but there was just too many shot clock bad looks, So again, you can't pass up a good look all the time just to end up with a bad look. You know what I'm saying? So I do think the New York Knicks got to play fast. They've got to trust their shot, and they've got to take those first good looks as well. And in terms of on defense, again, close out on those shooters, right? Even if Wembanyama has to dominate the ball, he's going to tire down. He's going to wear down. He can't carry an offense for 40 minutes, right? He's just not there yet. He may never be there the way his body is built. But he doesn't have the go-to moves and all that as well. So yes, he can finish plays, and he's an absolute freak. But I do think when it comes to Wembanyama, it might be in the Knicks' best interest to just shut everybody out, stay tight on the perimeter, and just let Wembanyama put up his 30, 35, 40 even, and have that kind of game where he's dominating, but he's tiring down, ladies and gentlemen. Because if Wembanyama's having to do a lot on the ball, then on defense, he's going to be more tired. He's not going to be able to close out on Karl Anthony Towns. He's not going to be able to close out as quick on the corner weak side when the ball swings to OG or Mikal Bridges or Deuce McBride or Landry or somebody else, right? Might be Jordan Clarkson. Yeah, I think the Knicks got to keep the Spurs guessing as well. That's why I said when the Knicks were up 2-0, I wanted the Knicks to do an adjustment at the start of Game 3. Because when you're down 0-2, you know that the Spurs are going to have to make an adjustment, right? The team that's down 0-2 has to come up with something different. And the Knicks needed to make an adjustment before the Spurs made an adjustment. That's why I think Jose or Kolek should have played more in Game 3. But better late than never, they made the adjustment in Game 4, and the New York Knicks have the 3-1 lead, right? Some teams have lost the 3-1 lead before. It's not quite a 3-0 lead, but this Knicks team, man, like let's put this series in perspective, because the New York Knicks have lost one game in their last 15, right? Are the Spurs team good enough, just talent alone, to win 3 in a row, just in general? Yes, they've got enough talent to win 3 games in a row. But when they're playing against a team that's lost one game in 15 games, you're not beating that team 3 games in a row, right? Based on what we've seen, right? Based on what we've seen. Of course, miracles can happen, and that's why you've got to play the games. But I don't like the Spurs' chances, man, of winning 3 games in a row against a team that's only lost, man, 1 game since April, fam. I think the what's that statistic, man? It's crazy. I think the Phoenix Suns and the Boston Celtics have lost 1 game. Right, the New York Knicks have lost the same amount of games since the Phoenix Suns and the Celtics were last playing. Fam, let that sink in. Let that sink in, fam. Salute to the chat, everyone joining us. Blessings and happiness out here. Look, as a neutral, if you're watching this series as a neutral as well, I mean, the NBA salivating right now. I hope they don't try something crazy to extend this series beyond what it should already be. If the Spurs were to be good enough to win on their own merit and force a Game 6, well, yeah, the NBA is going to be even more happy. But yeah, the best rated NBA finals since 1998. Obviously, the New York Knicks made the finals the following year. But this is what happens when you put, right, a global icon, a superstar in Wembanyama versus a starved fan base in the biggest market, the New York Knicks. You get the best ratings. David says Deuce will never be a penetrator, as at this point he is what he is. You're 100% spot on, you know. Maybe he could improve if he was playing that role a little bit more, but yeah, the truth be known is that Brunson dominates the ball most of the regular season. And I don't think you could really grow your game unless you're getting, you know, like full, you know, high reps. But yeah, just in terms of skill set, Tyler Kolek, Jose Alvarado, they're just so much better ball handlers. And if they can develop their 3-point stroke to be slightly better, then they're more effective than Deuce McBride. As much as I love Deuce, obviously defense is Deuce's calling card. I think that will probably always be his calling card since he got drafted. Slow Runner says, right, GTA, playing fearlessly, surprised the Spurs, didn't try to attack him more on offense. Yeah, I do think that the speed is key. That's how the Knicks are going to get one more, I think. Wembanyama, he's not going to admit it. The Spurs aren't going to admit it. But yeah, he gassed out. Brick 2 free throws. That's why I said you want him, you know, and I'm mindful of saying this because you've got to be careful of what you wish for, but it's just a case of picking your poison. You know, the Spurs have got talent all over the floor, and someone's going to get a good shot on their squad, whether it's Fox getting penetration, whether it's Harper bullying to the rack, or Castle with a pull-up, Wembanyama with whatever. Someone's going to get a good look. But if you had to pick something down the stretch, a tired Wembanyama, don't forget, he missed the Game 2 mid-range pull-up as well. Mitch contested great, but that was a very makeable shot. And what happened? Wembanyama bricked. He shot it long. He overcompensated as well. So those long, skinny legs, man, they ain't getting stronger as the game wears on, as the games wear on during this series. And you look at OG Anunoby in that graphic, skying high. What's always been one of OG's biggest strengths, man, it is his core, his lower body strength, his huge calf and core muscles. And OG Anunoby, man, fully over that hamstring. JCNYC78 salute says our defense from the beginning needs to be tight and relentless. And I think it will. Yeah, 100% right. I think on the road, I do think the Knicks can focus a bit more, you know. You come together on the road, you know. You ain't got your partners, maybe your family, extended family in the stands. You know, you're on the road with your teammates. You can focus that little bit more, I think, on the job at hand. But look, yeah, are the Spurs going to try something crazy? Are they going to start Dylan Harper? Mitch Johnson said at practice or shoot around that he's still going to trust the Aaron Fox down the stretch. And I think lost in all the Knicks' comeback was that the Spurs actually shot an NBA Finals history record in the first half. Right? Are they going to be able to replicate that? Hell no. Right. It was the NBA Finals record, 14 threes in the first half. So whatever the Knicks did to come back, they had to do it against a team that was just shooting the lights out. What happens if the Spurs come out a little cold and don't shoot well? So they're going to have to do that again, I think, 2 or 3 more times to even try to win this series. Devin Vassell has to be better as well. Keldon Johnson's been a letdown. I think the Knicks have done a good job keeping those guys in check. Karl Anthony Towns, what happens if the referees don't put him in foul trouble and Cat can actually play 38 minutes free of foul trouble? As Alvarado makes one of my favorite plays of the game in this one. Mitch Johnson looks a little shook up in that one. This was a great play from Alvarado, a little okey doke. Keep my dribble alive. That's one for all the point guards, fam. Like Clyde always says, keep the dribble alive. And what a ghost screen from Alvarado. And Brunson gave up the ball, man. All these moves, I'm so happy that everyone's had their moment. If anyone deserves a moment in Game 5 to seal the championship, ladies and gentlemen, if anyone on this squad deserves a moment to win the game and seal this championship, it's Deuce McBride or Josh Hart, in my opinion. Maybe even Mitchell Robinson, man. How apropos would it be for 2 homegrown players drafted by the organization in Deuce McBride or Mitchell Robinson or Josh Hart even to help us seal the championship, right? We're always going to remember Brunson's heroics in this run. We'll know what Cat brought to the table with the tip, the Game 1, the Game 2 performances as well, the step back 3, Game 4. OG obviously is going to be at the top. Alvarado had his shine. Landry as well. But it's time for Deuce McBride to have a moment. Josh Hart maybe recover from that blown layup. Man, I swear to God, I thought Josh Hart was going to stuff it. I thought there was just enough separation where he thought the defender was going to close down and he was just going to take that extra step and stuff it down. But he was worried about getting blocked. That's what happens when you hear footsteps. You know, like De'Aaron Fox as well. He panicked, ladies and gentlemen. Slow Runner says Tibbs' Achilles was his failure to use his bench. Knicks injured and worn out against Indiana. Yeah, I think we got more ball handling as well. I think Cam Payne was a guy that Tibbs liked, but he was a little too erratic. Couldn't couldn't completely trust him. More than 15 minutes. Alvarado, I think, is more of a quintessential point guard. Again, Cam Payne was just looking for his shot too much. Cam Payne was basically a Brunson light, looking to attack too much. Was Alvarado, okay, he hit big threes and he's capable, but he was also looking for the dish as well. But what a play from Karl Anthony Towns, right? The shot, the timekeeper couldn't start the clock on time, but thankfully, man, everything was going the Knicks' way, and it did not cost us as well, man. Unbelievable game 4, right? Great series so far too. But yeah, on that note, on the coaching situation, right? Right. Let this be a lesson for other organizations as well. Sometimes you ain't got to tinker too much or change the squad and the lineup. Sometimes the biggest change or adjustment that you can make is on the sidelines, ladies and gentlemen. Right. The X's and O's, the clipboard, right? The coaching staff as a whole as well, from the defense to the offensive coaching staff, right? And trusting in your teammates, putting them in positions to be successful during the regular season so that you can figure things out, right? Now, he was getting clowned for it at one point in the game, but he was playing Huck Porty. He was playing Jeremy Sohan, ladies and gentlemen, right? He was searching, right? And it looked ugly at points. But the whole concept of what was taking place was he was trying something. He was trusting players, right? That's what carries weight in the locker room, man. What happened during the season? At one point, Kolek was a mainstay. Then he was out. Then he was back in. One point, Clarkson was a mainstay. He was out. Then he was trusted again. Landry Shamet lost his spot, lost minutes, and got it back. Right. Obviously, Jose Alvarado came in, man, like a bat out of hell. Had a 9-3 game against Philly, lost his spot, and came back as well. So that is coaching, ladies and gentlemen, not just throwing the player to the curb and saying, all right, you're going to sit for the rest of the season and you're just going to pout. No, we need everyone, man. All hands on deck, right? There might be a key stop that Jeremy Sohan comes in the closeout game. There might be a game where Kolek can get a rep as well, right? Huck Porty's played a role, even though Mitch and Cat have played most of the minutes. They do pick up fouls as well. The hacker Mitch, all of that. So I look forward to this series getting wrapped up. The sooner the better, right? And we can also look ahead to what is still going to be an eventful off season as well, because there are a lot of Knicks players, right, with some contractual situations. But first, got to capture the championship, the first in 53 years, ladies and gentlemen. The historic championship it would be, right? The Spurs, right, winning against the New York Knicks in 99, their first championship. The New York Knicks can get revenge on that. And I really hope Josh Hart has a moment, man, because I don't forget some of the plays he made in Game 4, man. This big three was key. The bounce pass to find OG for the dunk. I know he missed the box out, and he missed arguably the biggest shot of the game, the layup as well. But I'll never forget all the things that he did do to help the Knicks come back as well. Especially the defensive possession, fam, on Stephon Castle on the baseline, which I think on the replay shows that Castle didn't step out of bounds, but it looked close. The ref made the call. See, another nice bounce pass to Macau from Hart. This was the craziest shot of the game, in my opinion, the step back. Obviously, outside of the OG tip. But yeah, the Knicks got to play with their energy. They got to play with speed. I think the Spurs are most vulnerable when Wembanyama is gassed. And Mitch Johnson, fam, played Wembanyama um, basically the entire first half, all but 3 minutes. He played 20. I think he played 21 minutes in the first half when the Spurs were up 29. That's ridiculous, right? That is absolutely ridiculous with Wembanyama playing 21 minutes in the first half when the Spurs were already up by 29. Well, that had a healthy lead for most of the half, and he was tired. He was gassed. So, look, this 2 day rest, it is going to help the Spurs more than the Knicks. But the longer this series goes, if the Knicks can keep their speed and keep their foot on the gas, they will have the better shot, right, to close it out in the next game, right? But are the Spurs going to blow 3 games in a row at home? The Knicks were the first team to win a road game. The New York Knicks have been the first team to win at home. Now, the Spurs have to win a game at home. Damn. And that crowd is going to be full of Knicks fans in the Alamo. And if the game's close, right, legends are going to be made once again. So you guys let me know in the chat right now. We've got over 300 buzzing with us previewing Game 5 of this historic NBA Finals series, one that will never be forgotten, and it still ain't done yet. But what happens in Game 5, fam? How does this series finish? You guys let me know, because the story is not complete yet, right? Someone's going to be another hero. Whatever happens in Game 5, even if it goes 6-7, someone's going to be another hero, and somebody's going to be another villain. Ladies and gentlemen, there's another maybe half a chapter or not left to close this book on this one. I still think the finals MVP is up for grabs, but my money would be on OG, right? Just the way he's been playing, the consistency with the 3 ball, the defense, the hustle. I think one major adjustment, once again, from Mike Brown is the adjustment to put OG on the ball, guarding the ball handler. And De'Aaron Fox struggled late down the stretch because OG is amazing at getting around the screens, man. He can fight over the picks. Wembanyama's a string bean, and whoever else is setting the pick, OG can fight over those picks. Whereas Macau, Deuce, and all of that, the smaller bodies, they can die on the screens, and Brunson might have to switch. But no, OG was blowing up all the action as well. So it is going to tire him out. But I do think OG can save that juice by being a guy who, sits in the corner. OG stands in the corner a lot and, finds those easy shots or can attack on the closeouts as well. So that could be where OG saves some of that energy. Whereas Wembanyama, he's basically in every single action as well. He's running around. He's trying to do everything too. So, look, I've said this many times before. I do think the Spurs time is going to come. I just don't think it's going to be this year. Everything's, counting for the Knicks, the run, the timing, the players being experienced, veterans. And I do think that the New York Knicks are bound for destiny, ladies and gentlemen, to win this one because they know who they are. They built brick by brick a team that's capable of withstanding youth, physicality, shot making, and all of that. They can win in so many ways. Even if you just want to break it down like this, they just got more guys on the end of the bench that they could go down to. Spurs, Carter Bryant, Luke Cornett, who, by the way, is questionable. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Luke Cornett, questionable. That's not going to be good in terms of terms of needing Wembanyama to play more minutes. They're going to have to go some small ball. What's going to happen? Carter Bryant probably going to have to play more. A young kid, 19, 20. You're going to have to trust him. It's a closeout game. Wembanyama's going to have to play 40 plus. So a lot of pressure on the San Antonio Spurs. But like I said, their time's going to come because they've got time. They can build up extra depth. They've got more picks. Their depth isn't as good as the New York Knicks as well. So in my opinion, there was only going to be one way that the San Antonio Spurs win this championship, and that was just going to be Wembanyama was just going to have to completely arrive and just dominate most games, like dominate every single game. But the reason that ain't the case is obviously the New York Knicks have had more players that have been able to, do what they do best. Brunson closed the games out. OG hit the big shots when needed. Karl Anthony Towns be a pest and rebound and keep Wemby being physical as well. Right? Let's not forget, man, the New York Knicks have had, a tougher whistle completely as well. What was it? Game 2, 24 free throws to 8 in the second half. The Knicks overcame that and still won. Spurs shot NBA Finals record threes in the first half of Game 4, still lost. The New York Knicks still found a way to win. So the Spurs' best way of winning this or even getting back into it is they just have to operate for 48 minutes as a full team and limit their mistakes, limit turnovers, make better decisions with the basketball as well. But they're going to have to shoot hot once again because the Knicks are capable of going blow for blow. The New York Knicks are capable of hitting shots as well. You flip the script from the Spurs hitting 14 threes in the first half. You flip it to the second half and you have OG, 7 of 9. Alvarado hitting a couple. Landry. You have Cat hit the step back Brunson threes as well. So the Spurs have to guard up on those guys as well. But yeah, Luke Cornett, questionable. It's a closeout game. So he's probably going to try to give it a go, ladies and gentlemen. But I do think that, as I said earlier, I think it's probably going to be the closest, best basketball game in terms of competitiveness. Game 5, the closeout game. And I think it's going to be a coin flip. But I'm confident that the New York Knicks have got the clutch players late down the stretch. If it goes back to New York City, obviously we take a game at a time, but I can't imagine the amount of buzz, pressure as well on both sides. Now, I do think that the NBA would love for this series to keep going. Let's see what the whistle is like, man. Let's see. Shout out to Jose, says New York Knicks will become victorious in the close the Spurs out and win the chip tomorrow night. Knicks in 5. Let's go. I'll be live post game tomorrow and we'll be celebrating, right? Hopefully, and we'll be talking about another classic. Old head says salute CT and chat, 3 games to win 1. Let's go Knicks. That is the math. The way I would approach it, and the way I think the New York Knicks should approach this one is just think every single game is Game 7. It's a must win. If you approach that with that kind of level of desperation, then 3 chances will be enough to get 1. But you can't think of like, okay, we've got 1 game, we can play around. Then if it gets to a 6, then it gets more pressure. So yeah, tomorrow night is Game 7. In my opinion, it's must win. And you approach it like that. You approach it like that. But yeah, these 2 teams are very evenly matched. I do think the Spurs' time is going to come. They're going to have so many chances. They're going to improve their depth and their roster. But let's see what kind of adjustment Mitch Johnson, is going to make, because a lot of people saying less minutes for Fox should should Dylan Harper be the guy? He is the future. De'Aaron Fox has got what 200 plus million owed coming his way. Hasn't proven to be reliable down the stretch. Although he did hit a couple of tough shots to try to stave off the Knicks run, forced it to 7. But truth is, I do think Fox is just more of a scoring guard. He's never been the best floor general, in my opinion. And I know Wembanyama's gassed, but yeah, you've got to do better at getting him in his spots and try to get looks closer to the basket and execute, make better decisions, right? But look, fatigue, attrition, all of these things are a factor right now, man, especially in an evenly matched series, right, where anything can happen. Hot shooting, clutch plays, flagrants. I do think, man, it's going to be a huge game tomorrow night. Emotions are going to be flowing as well, especially in the closeout situation. Who's going to handle the atmosphere best? Look, I do think the Knicks are due to start a game strong. I think that goes without saying because, maybe Mike Brown should make a sub earlier and get Hart out of the game and try to go 5 out a little bit quicker. Is Alvarado riding high with extra confidence and maybe you could, run him out there 25 more minutes, based on what he's doing. And we've seen it before. If Alvarado can knock threes down, that changes everything because suddenly you've got the shooting of Deuce McBride, but you've also got a player that can make plays off the dribble, bring the ball up, keep Brunson fresh, right? Every single possession, Brunson is getting hounded by Harper or Castle or Vassell, and then he's having to shoot over the top of Wemby, 7'6", as well. The ball pressure Brunson's been dealing with, that's got to weigh on him a lot as well. So the fresher you can keep Brunson down the stretch, the better for the New York Knicks, ladies and gentlemen. And I do think Alvarado playing minutes earlier in the game could help that out. And I just don't think this is a situation for Deuce to bring the ball up. Mikal Bridges, the same. They ain't got the handles to deal with that level of ball pressure. Castle, Harper, Vassell, they're great on-ball defenders as well. But I can't discount the fact that is obviously taking a level of energy out of those guys as well, right? That's why the Spurs rotate with their defenders because you're picking up Brunson full court 3 quarters. That's going to tire you out as well. The New York Knicks have never been a team that picks guards up at half court, full court, because it takes a lot out of you, fam. And so when we look at the fine margin separating some of these results, it could be just down to the depth and the Knicks having more players that they can throw out there to get a little bit out of. The Spurs, Cornet, they'll look at changing that in the off season, upgrading that situation. Carter Bryant, obviously young still and growing in experience. But yeah, Keldon Johnson, De'Aaron Fox, some of their veterans need to really step up. Right? Talk about Fox. Fox could flip the script if Fox could have a complete game and get the Spurs back into the series. Maybe he'll take some of the heat off of him. But I don't know if I was coaching the Spurs. I don't know if I would trust that again down the stretch. Right? You're having success with Castle and Harper, right? But there's less guys that they can depend on offensively, right? Like I said, the Spurs' chances of winning this series was Wemby having a generational series, right? And just doing everything from an offensive standpoint. He's been pretty good to solid, but he's obviously choked in some late game situations, maybe due to fatigue, maybe lack of experience and composure as well, overconfidence. But the Knicks have had some issues as well. Don't forget, we've had terrible whistles. Karl Anthony Towns can't stay on the floor for most of the game because of some of the bad whistles as well. So my tip for the Knicks' success tomorrow is that the New York Knicks got to defend discipline, right? Don't put the Spurs in the bonus. Don't get San Antonio in the bonus with nine minutes to play like they did in Game 3, right? You know the NBA is going to try to extend this series, ladies and gentlemen. You know they're going to be calling these ticky-tacks as well. So if I'm Cat, you got to give up an easy layup here and there just to stay out of foul trouble. You're more valuable, Cat, staying out there on the floor. So look, Karl Anthony Towns is so important to this squad. The Knicks have won all their minutes with Cat out there. He can pull Wemby around. He could stretch the floor. He rebounds super well with his super wingspan, as you see. Cat getting the tip. And look, Mitchell Robinson hasn't been overly dependable. He's had some troubles as well, especially with the hack. Shout out Old Head says, totally agree, CT. Finish the series tomorrow. Don't play with your food. And that is the case. You know, the Spurs did it and they found out. You know, the Knicks did it last season against Indy. They found out. You can't keep these good teams around, man. They'll find confidence. They'll find some shots too. But yeah, this thing also, could be decided by the coaching battle. You know what I'm saying? Like the bravery of Brown trusting Alvarado is poetic because the Knicks pulled the comeback. They got the win, right? Mitch Johnson hasn't quite found that trust to give Dylan Harper the keys. Yeah, that could have swung the series after being down 2-0. Maybe earlier. Maybe you just increase Harper's minutes even more because the Knicks haven't been able to stop him getting to the rack, right? And but overall, well, I can't complain with the defense on Wemby. Like overall, I know the bad whistle's been there, but you know I do think that the Knicks for the most part have been making Wemby work, pushing him around, and I like the physicality. So yeah, I personally don't think the series is over because you got to get the final one, but you definitely favor the Knicks in their situation. But yeah, this story could flip after Game 5, or it could be over. You know, elimination games tend to be the craziest because things can happen. Spurs are a young team. We've got to see how they handle that elimination game, man. I don't think the Spurs have faced an elimination game. Maybe they did in the OKC series. Maybe they faced one elimination game, or maybe not. But either way, it's a tough situation to be in at home. The Knicks like a closeout game so far this postseason. So yeah, we'll see what plays out, fam. We'll be live post game. My keys are the Knicks play with extra speed. They call upon their depth, and they see if the Spurs will wear out. If you're Mitch Johnson, you got to pick your moments when to sit Wemby, when to rest for the fourth quarter, because you might try to end the Knicks early. You might try to finish them in the first quarter or the second quarter or the third quarter. It's not going to happen. The game's just not going to be over by the third quarter. It's always going to come down to the fourth with the New York Knicks, right? They never go away. And so if you're Mitch Johnson, you've got to calculate and decide, okay, when am I going to get Wemby his rest? Because it's going to be a fourth quarter. You know, it's going to come down to that. And I need him ready and fresh, right? You could say the same about Brown as well, because am I going to play another ball handler to so that Brunson ain't gassed down the stretch as well. So yeah, I'm personally expecting some more Alvarado. Um, Hopefully Josh Hart can be all together and have his head screwed on and have his mind focused. But I understand the situation. Uh, Deuce McBride might lose some minutes in this situation. Clarkson, closeout game. I don't know if I'm going to go Clarkson's way. So I think a lot of Shamit, a lot of Alvarado, some Mitchell Robinson, and maybe a little bit of Deuce. And the Knicks tighten their rotations up, but they play Alvarado more minutes. Uh, let's see what plays out. Old Head says Spurs should trade Fox's 40-50 mil contract in the offseason to a team that needs a point guard like the Rockets to get draft picks and improve their bench. You know, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think they will definitely explore it with the way Harper's coming. But yeah, the funny thing about it is that I felt like the Fox move was premature. I know they tried to speed it up and get some help. You know, Wemby was ascending. Suddenly we're ultra competitive, and it's like, okay, you know, you think you have a chance to be really competitive quickly. So you go out, you go get the Fox deal done, but then what happens? You draft Castle, and you find Dylan Harper as well. And I know you can't quite predict all that's going to happen, but at the same time, if you just hold tight, then you've suddenly got way more flexibility. You know, you ain't give Fox that contract, and then you've got the two guards, Castle and Harper as well, and you've got extra flexibility. But like you said, I think Fox's contract is still tradable. Maybe a team, that needs that point guard. Look out for some teams like Orlando. I do think they might be trading Jalen Suggs. There's talk about that happening. Orlando, Houston, like you say, needs some ball handling as well. But I feel the Spurs as well. You could well and truly run it back and just experience. You know, you could just be better next season just based on experience, and you improve the depth. Like I said, core net clearly gonna get replaced or upgraded. Keldon Johnson, you might have some tough conversations about him. You probably need another bucket getter as well off the bench, another 6-man type. A guy who's a little bit more reliable, getting you some bench scoring. For me, like Vassell, I know Vassell's contract ain't super high, but yeah, you could definitely look at exploring something there. Let's see what plays out with them. But yeah, look, the Spurs have got time, man. They ain't going anywhere. I think it's going to be Spurs OKC for a long time out west. And I do think the East is going to get way more competitive. I do think we're going to see different teams come up. Depends on what Atlanta can do with their flexibility, what Detroit can do. Orlando still need to get over the hump. Indiana lose Miles Turner, who I think was a key contributor to spacing, but Ivica Zubac comes in as a more well-rounded center. I think Halliburton and Siakam with Neesmith and Nembhard are still have a hell of a combination. So I do think Indiana's going to be there around. But the New York Knicks, man, are going to take some beating to knock them off their perch, right? Freeway Hustler Salute says, not going to lie, I'm nervous about Game 5. For real, nervous about every game, man. It's going to come down to like tough spots, moments, coaching adjustments, heroic plays, like you said. But I think the biggest thing I take, Freeway, is we've been here. we've been here before, and we've got the experience. We're not phased down the stretch. I mean, I really say this with all sincerity, but the New York Knicks just find a way to win any way possible, any way that they need to win a game, even if they're down 20, and they just stay in it. Or they'll blow you out, just like they did against Philly, Cleveland. They'll blow you out early, or they'll stick around and have a heroic comeback. They're never out of it. So yeah, I trust the Knicks down the stretch. The difference is the coach just got options. The coach got different options. The guys are stepping up. Different games, man. Deuce McBride due for one. Maybe Landry comes back. Glenn, my guy, salute. CT Wemby is going to own the NBA in a year or two. But this is our year. 100%. 100%, fam. Timing. Timing is key. Timing is everything, fam. So yeah, Luke Cornett is questionable with sickness, fam. Illness. I do think we close it out. I do think we close it out tomorrow, fam. I do think we close it out. But if not, game 6. Game 6. Yep. Teams up 3-1. A 37-1, man. Start the bus. Start planning the parade. But yeah, we got to get that one first. But yeah, 3 chances. Got to stay focused. Look, I'm not going to lie. This might be the perfect scenario being on the road, fam. Before we have game 6 at home, before that pressure that would come with that game, I'm glad we have one on the road. Not going to lie. Because this team is just focused, The circus that came with game 3, the hoopla, 30 years since hosting 20 years since hosting a finals game at MSG, all the pressure game 3, Trump, the hype, the buzz. There was a lot of distractions, and I do think when you just get back to basics and you just make it about X's and O's and you can focus as well. And as the series goes, that's why Mike Brown always says this. It's a 7-game series for a reason, right? Survival of the fittest, the strongest, the smartest. Eventually someone's going to crack. Eventually something's got to give in a 7-game series, man. Someone's going to crack. And the longer the series goes, right, the New York Knicks' depth and adjustments, ability to be more fresh, I think is going to play a major factor as well. As the Spurs ran out of gas, man, they were all gas in the first half, man. They used up all their NOS. And the Knicks crowd, the bench picked them up in a major way, in game 4. Yeah, they tried everything, man. They tried to hurt OG's knee. The referees tried. Speaking of, I don't know who's going to officiate game 5, but I don't even need to know because I already know what the script. I already know what they're going to try to do. Again, don't take a genius because the NBA, this is the highest rated finals, man, since 1998 through 4 games. And don't let it get to 6 or 7. Overall, it's going to be the highest rated NBA finals ever. If it does get a 6 or 7, man. I got friends and colleagues and people talking to me, family talking to me that don't even watch, They don't watch, some of them, and they're into it, You got fans of other sports. Celebrities want to be a part of this. You got influencers. You got Wu-Tang coming back. Causing waves. everyone want to be a part of this because I said at the start of the series, someone's going to be new, and people love that. They love something new, a new champion. No one wants to see the same thing over and over, you know? I know when the Knicks were bad over the years growing up, I'd hate to see Chicago over and over, LA. As much as you admire their greatness, Kobe, Shaq, MJ, you just wanted to see something new. You wanted to see something exciting, and I'm a big soccer fan as well. Football, World Cup starting too. I can't wait to get into that. But right now I can't. Like I'm just riding and dying with every single NBA Finals game right now because, the World Cup's going to go for many more weeks. These are just the early games, but with this NBA Finals thing that we're seeing, man, it's historic, you know. Now, as much as I hated Indiana last season going 7, that that was highly competitive. Uh, I didn't want Indiana to win, but I hate OKC as well. So that was a tough watch, and the ratings were terrible for last season's NBA Finals. This season is a completely different story because you're either going to get a legacy defining start to Wembanyama's career and another storied franchise in the San Antonio Spurs, winning another chip, or you get the fairy tale, the Cinderella story of the New York Knicks, rags to riches story with Brunson and co. Karl Anthony Towns being tossed to the side by his former teams as well. Mike Brown was tossed to the side how many times? All of that. And you had all these expectations, man. James Dolan, how many times has James Dolan been on the radio talking about, yeah, Knicks are going to win. Knicks got to get to the finals and all that. You never see that with another team's owner put that kind of level of pressure on their teams. Damn, it's insane, But truth is, whoever, from both teams' perspective, I think both teams are going to come back stronger next season, regardless of this experience, because yeah, Spurs are young, they're growing in this experience, and the New York Knicks are still in their prime as a team. And I think should the Knicks win this championship, I think they'll come back as a core, largely unchanged. You know, as Bootsy Jones says, same here. Nothing else matters while the Knicks are in the playoffs. Absolutely nothing. You know, I see people, especially when the Knicks were on that run, man, people keeping the same routines, the same venues they go to, the same clothes, eating the same foods, just to keep this thing going. But what a run it's been, man. It's been over 2 months, basically, since the Knicks started this playoff run, right? We're mid-June, and we're still playing NBA ball. This is unprecedented for the most part. And, right, the Knicks have only lost 1 game since the Phoenix Suns and the Boston Celtics were last in the playoffs. That speaks to how long this run is going. Johnny Chiba says, like to see Sohan, Jemison, and Huck waste some fouls on Wemby. Yeah, I understand. I understand the hatred, all of that. I think largely Wembanyama feels somewhat entitled, but yeah, he knows that he's going to be dominant. But truth is, I just want the Knicks to win with basketball. Overcome adversity, overcome officiating, all of that. For the most part, this team is so makes us proud as Knicks fans because they may not be the most star-laden team, the most skillful, but yeah, they play with a spirit. They play together. I think the defense changed, obviously, since the new coaches come in. You had, the shift after 2-1 down to ATL. Man, shout out to ATL. Shout out to Atlanta Hawks, Dyson Daniels, CJ McCollum. they toughened the Knicks up. They woke the Knicks up. They got us on this run. Right? They started the engine of this thing, man. And look, maybe the Hawks could make some moves, and they could find their way, through this experience, and come back and be here once again. But just like the Knicks made Detroit stronger last season as well, right? Shout out to my guy, the one only J Boogie, keeping the streets buzzing. Hope all is well, fam. We're riding high, and I can't wait to chop it up with you after the Knicks secure this chip. J Boogie says from the streets is buzzy to this championship is buzzing. Right. I'll be a Dear Monty tomorrow down to close. Salute, salute, salute. 3 capital S's. J Boogie, man. So many Knicks fans and family been fortunate to connect with, chop it up with, and enjoy this team with together. And I can't wait for all of us. The story's been written. I think the story's been written. Records were meant to be broke. And the Knicks have been the biggest juggernaut, biggest sleeping giant in sports. And, it's going to happen. Right? It's going to happen. What a move it was to put this team together, from OG to some of the draft picks, the Brunson pickup, Hart, coming all together for this run, man. And I do think that the New York Knicks can get a lot better as well, man. Right. Core guys, 30 years old. OG's 28, going on 29. I think next year, look forward to some Diawara. Hopefully he can stick around. We're going to see more of a Kolek. I think there might be some changes on the margins. Pacome Dardier, Sohan, maybe Jordan Clarkson, find some extra bread. But let's see. I think the core of this squad is going to be around for a long, long time still to come, man. Look at the quality play that Steph Curry's still playing at 36, 37. That's why I really like Brunson's game so much, where he could play off ball. Brunson can shift to sort of more of a 2 guard as he gets older and still be a dynamic scorer. And you save his legs by not having to bring the ball up all the time as well. And for the Spurs side, the dual combination of Castle and Harper together, they can both alternate and devastate and distribute and score as well. So the two guard alignments are big time. When you look at these dynasties, the Splash Brothers with Clay and Steph, you look at the Chicago Bulls in the day as well. With the combinations, I think that's the winning formula. You got 2 guys that can bring it up, 2 guys that could play, make, and distribute and score as well. I think is key, because I do think in the modern NBA, as a point guard, you do have to be able to shoot. You do have to be able to shoot threes, and you do have to be able to score to make the defense pay. You look at a guy I mentioned earlier, Jalen Suggs, who looks like, Orlando might have some conversations about his future. They got Desmond Bane. That was expensive pickup. You do need to be able to shoot it. I don't know if the guys like Rajon Rondo, in this day and age, where you could sag off, you could sag off 5 feet and dare these guys to shoot. Don't know if that's enough to lead a team to victory in this modern NBA. You need spacing. Look, even CP3 at his best, Russell Westbrook, could still pull up off the dribble, shoot it, make you pay. And they could also distribute as well. Fam. Yeah. Jalen Brunson, man, what can we say about him? Because 2nd round pick, thank you, Dallas. Nico. Right. Slept on his entire life. Still in his prime, entering his prime. And what a pickup that was. It's just a free agent signing. we rarely get that. You know, we may never get another free agent signing to the impact of Jalen Brunson, just because of the fact that you don't get free agent signings really anymore. Like even Giannis, Bucks ain't going to be dumb enough to let him run his contract down. You don't lose a franchise player for nothing. And I know, Dallas, got robbed with trading Luka, but they still traded him. So they tried to get something. But you don't see star players leave for nothing now. Even LeBron, as 41, 42 years old, LA might do a little sign and trade, get something back. But for the Dallas Mavericks, you lose Jalen Brunson for nada, nothing. You drafted him. You lose him for nothing. That sets you back a decade, man. That's inexcusable, and that's why Nico Harrison is fired right now. You can't lose a player for free, right? That's insane, especially to that level, right? Now, we know Giannis is going to get traded. It's not going to be to the Knicks, regardless of what happens. I don't think they're going to do the Giannis thing. So Giannis is going to go somewhere else. But you know what? The Bucks are going to get a nice little package. They might not get what they got 2 years ago, what they would have got, but they're going to get someone like a Evan Mobley type. They might end up getting a Austin Reeves type. Someone that they can start their build with and be competitive with a whole lot of picks as well. Let's see what plays out. But also let this be a lesson, guys, that you can't get too old too. You got to keep a younger core. Look how young the Knicks are. Look how young the Spurs are. With the Houston Rockets, right, they put all their eggs in one basket with Kevin Durant. Right? Kevin Durant off Achilles. He's 39 now, 38, 39. He can't stay healthy for a full playoff run. Right? It's a young man's game. Ladies and gentlemen, look at these teams that ain't here. Right? It's a young man's game. And so the Houston Rockets, I don't know about Ime Udoka, but they also need to make it, keep it going with some young stars as well. Because I think Kevin Durant, if you keep his usage down, he could be that exception. As the bucket getter that you need late down the stretch. But one thing I've learned over this run, because the Knicks getting to the fourth round, it's grueling, man. We've been blessed with health throughout this run, but it's tough. Who knows what would have happened if the Knicks didn't sweep Philly and they didn't sweep Cleveland? That could have been 5-6 more games on the Knicks' legs at the end of the day. Johnny Chiba says Mike Brown got away with other players bringing the ball up other than Brunson. I think he's got to trust Alvarado a bit more, and look, we'll see what ends up happening with Kolek next season. We need some ball handling, definitely. Deuce's contract got one more year left. The Knicks, again, they don't like losing a player for nothing. So I think pivotal off-season coming up, no matter what, because I do think if they can't come to terms with a Deuce extension, which I think they'll probably try to extend him, go into the second apron with Mitch, Deuce, Diawara. You got Shamet, and you've got Alvarado with the player option as well. So the Knicks probably will go into the second apron if they win the chip, but they'll try to extend Deuce or sign and trade or do something, because you don't want to lose a player for nothing if you can't extend. But the fact is that Deuce can't really play. He can't dribble the ball up under pressure, unfortunately. And you've got Diawara, who can handle as well at the point forward spot. So he could take that major leap as well, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm gonna get ready to wrap this up, because I got a barbecue to head to, fam, and enjoy the rest of my night. And tomorrow is history in the making. Right, as the streets are buzzing worldwide, right? FIFA World Cup here NFL football season around the corner. NBA finals, history being made. It's a sports fan's dream right now. Hopefully you're enjoying it, staying blessed. And look, this series ain't over yet. But like I said, there's going to be some more heroes. There's going to be some more villains. Because until the fat lady is singing, anything can happen. But I do think that the Knicks have enough to wrap it up tomorrow night at the Alamo, man. How poetic it would be to get revenge on 1999 for the New York Knicks to win their first championship in 53 years in enemy territory, but with 50% of the arena Knicks fans. So we'll see how that plays out, but you never know what's in store, because Wembanyama, the Spurs, they might be in that rhythm, they might bounce back, and the Knicks might need to close this out in 6. But hopefully not, and the sooner the better. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, peace. See you tomorrow night, post-game. Let's go Knicks.